can a person do? The average mom and pop, I mean, what can they do in 2023? I mean, what is your
Um,
program you offer? Because you have solutions for people.
yeah, thank you, Robert. And that's a great question. And you're right. I give a pretty tough analysis. I don't consider myself a doom and gloom person. I get called that all the time, but I'm actually a very optimistic person. But I'm also a realistic person and analyst. And I don't think you serve listeners or readers or viewers very well if you don't kind of tell it like it is. So we deliver it straight. But I also offer solutions because I think that's kind of your obligation. A couple of things would be obvious from this. Number one, reduce your exposure to equities. If Wall Street's talking up the stock market based on the soft landing Goldilocks scenario, but Powell's going to stick to his guns and raise rates too high, that's going to cause stocks to crash very severely, very suddenly. If the market were adjusting, so yeah, Powell means it. It's going to keep, and we ought to come down a little bit. That would be one thing, but that's not what's happening. The market's trying to rally. Powell's warning people what's going to happen. They're not listening, and it is going to happen. So markets will crash. So lighten up your equity exposure. I'm not saying sell every single stock. There's room for a slice of stocks. I would, for the stock portion of your portfolio, I would look at energy, like, companies like, the obvious names, Chevron, BP, Exxon, mobil, Marathon, because they have refining capacity. We're not getting away from oil and natural gas, in my lifetime, probably not in this century. The whole, I got nothing against solar power and windmills, but if you think you can run a modern power grid on that, you know nothing about physics, nothing about the baseline power needed to maintain a power grid, nothing about the chemicals needed to make batteries for electric vehicles. There's not enough lithium in the world to make more than a small fraction of all the batteries they say they're going to have. Not to mention the fact you use up more energy mining the minerals, the cobalt, the lithium, the copper, and the nickel you need for the batteries than you save having the batteries themselves. They wear out after 8 years. And how much energy and water do you use to do the mining to get the lithium to make the batteries, and why is that good for the environment? So none of it makes sense. It's an ideological crusade by a bunch of elite eggheads who have a hidden agenda, which is about transferring wealth from the northern to southern hemispheres. You have to see through this, what I call the green news scam. So that means that oil and natural gas have been so beaten down by the Larry Finks of the world that, but we're going to need them. There's no substitute. Those are really good stocks to buy. So I would lighten up on equities overall, but to the extent I had an equity slice, I would look at the energy sector. I would get treasury notes, 10-year notes. I like, but if they're a little too volatile, seasoned to taste, you can look at a 2-year note or 5-year note or a 2-year note where you have less volatility. Given the scenario I outlined, where there's a severe recession right around the corner, that means interest rates are going to come down a lot. I know everyone's talking about inflation. That's fine, but deflation is right around the corner and no one's looking for it. Interest rates come down a lot. That means there could be huge capital gains on those notes. And of course, they're very high quality from a credit perspective. So, 10, 5 or 2-year notes, treasury notes, not junk bonds, the treasury notes in your portfolio. I have a big slice of cash. Maybe as much as 30%. People say, I hate cash because it has no yield. Well, first of all, if we have deflation, cash could be your best performing asset because the real value of money goes up, not down. It goes down in inflation, but it goes up in deflation. But cash also has embedded optionality, meaning if things are crashing and burning all around you, the person with cash who's not stuck in the wrong asset class can go shopping. You can pick up the bargains. And by the way, the biggest cash hoard in the world right now is probably Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway. He has $130 billion in cash. Why? Because he sees what I see. He sees what we're talking about. The wreck is coming. And again, you get to go shopping. I like real estate. Not so much commercial real estate. I think it's early, but residential real estate, multifamily housing, farm, other kinds of income producing real estate. That's a winner. I like gold, but 10%. People say, yeah, Jim Rickards says sell everything, buy gold. I've never said that. I don't think it's a good idea. But 10% slice gold and silver, by the way. Silver will, in a real severe crisis or social disorder, a monster box, which is 501 ounce American silver eagles, costs maybe $15,000 or so at the market. That's like, to me, it's like having batteries and flashlight and water and plywood in a hurricane. You want a monster box around. And that's, by the way, that's real diversification. I run into people, they've got 50 stocks and they say, I'm highly diversified. I've got 50 stocks in 10 sectors, semiconductors, minerals and mining, consumer non-durables. Like, if you're not diversified, you may have 50 stocks, but you're in one asset class, stocks. They're all going to go down together or they're all going to go up together. But when you have a slice of stocks, gold, silver, real estate, cash, treasury notes, and maybe some private equity, et cetera, that's real diversification, and that portfolio will get you through the storm.
Well, thank you very, very much. Like I said, this is one of the strangest times, but you were talking about it way back when we talked about currency wars. And then when I saw FTX blow up and with Sam Bankman frauds kick up, and I said, I don't think Jim saw Sam Bankman fraud, but that is a massive currency war. What is setting shockwaves all over the world? Because is it the biggest Ponzi scheme ever?
If you don't count the U.S. Treasury market, probably yes. But that one's been going on for 230 years. Alexander Hamilton figured that out a long time ago. But yes, I believe it is. I'll reserve judgment a little bit. There might be a bigger one out there. It may be in our next interview. We can mention the name, but there's something out there that is potentially 10 times worse than FTX in the terms of whether stable coins are really backed up with real dollars.
Okay, Matt, may I ask you one more question?
Sure.
What do you see? Because during the boom years, people added employees. Do you see unemployment increasing? I mean, I know Meta's.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just every day, Target, Amazon, FedEx, today, Goldman Sachs firing 5,000 employees, Twitter, thousands of layoffs. I know they're individual cases, but Amazon, same thing. They add up. And then not to mention when you get into recession, which is coming, all the small businesses that sadly just fail and lay off everybody. And by the way, unemployment is a lagging indicator. People go, well, there's no recession because unemployment is not going up enough. No, unemployment is a lagging indicator. When you're in financial distress, you cut all your costs, you turn out the lights, you do a lot of things first. The last thing you want to do is lay people off. But when things get bad enough and you start laying people off, of course, that's hard for those individuals, but you're already in the recession at that point. That's not a leading indicator. That's a lagging indicator. The leading indicators say the recession is definitely coming. But yeah, unemployment is going to go up a lot.
I want to go into a few things you can do to not be a victim of what's happening. Any comments there, Sarah?
I just want to make a quick comment. Something we heard in Ken's radio show is how he's hoarding cash because things in a crash go on sale, and that's the biggest buying opportunity. Right. And Jim mentioned that as well. Having cash as part of your diversification he feels is important. So I just wanted to mention that carryover. And then, Jim is known online as doom and gloom. He always has bad news. But I really appreciated him. The last 10 minutes of that show, he gave you tangible, real things that anybody can do. Probably not on a large scale like Kenny could do, but it's something to get started and to get your mindset in that positive mode of what I can do rather than being a victim of circumstance. So right. Very good episode. Jim, as always, is just a fire hose of information.
Yeah. And Kenny realized he's an old guy, over 30 also. He has the experience of going up and down. We buy damaged property all the time. I just invest. I'm not really a real estate guy. I invest in real estate because of debt. And the more debt I have, the less tax I pay. But that's financial education.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I like to leave this with this thought right here. What Jim was saying is I don't save cash. I save gold and silver. And I've been saying that for most of my life. I have tons. I literally do have tons of gold and silver. To me, that's cash because it's liquid. If I have a gold coin, I can spend it today. So I'd rather save gold coins and silver coins. And I do. I own gold mines and silver mines. So part of being an old guy and all this, and I've lost many opportunities because I just don't trust the stock market because in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I think the stock market is rigged, just as gold and silver is rigged. It's called, I forget the name of all this stuff, but if you buy SLV, which is silver, it's an ETF, how do you know there's any silver there? You buy GLD, which is paper gold, how do you know there's any gold there? You really don't. So I'm kind of a skeptic and a cynic, much like, or cautious. I'd rather have the physical gold and silver in my hands if you can get it. And the reason people are having a hard time getting it because the premiums, let's say the spot of silver is $20, the premium may be an extra $5 on top. The premium is because it's hard to get. So when premiums are going up, it's actually a good sign for me because I do own tons. Kim and I do own gold mines, silver mines, silver. We don't keep it at the house, so don't come visit me. They're in safe vaults all over the world.